Hello and welcome to this short guide to writing an essay conclusion. The conclusion is one of the most important parts of your essay. Like a good dessert, a good conclusion provides a final flourish after the main course and leaves the reader feeling satisfied. With that in mind, here are our 3 top tips for writing satisfying conclusions. First, don't just summarize. One of the most common mistakes students make is to write a summary rather than a conclusion. If you're summarizing something, you identify its main points or elements and present them back to your reader or audience, usually in a succinct way. Summaries can help to remind others of what you have covered up to this point. In an essay, we can summarize by rewriting a version of the topic sentences from each body paragraph. For example, let's use an essay topic that I wrote about many years ago. We're going to use this example throughout the video. The question asks, should a lottery be used to decide who is admitted to oversubscribed courses at universities? If you decided to answer yes, your thesis statement, that is, your controlling argument, might look something like this. For simplicity, let's assume we have 3 main supporting arguments. First, an argument about fairness. Second, an argument about efficiency. And third, addressing potential criticisms. So what does our summary look like? After a little bit of framing, we might simply rephrase these 3 main points and then maybe repeat a version of our thesis statement at the end. We end up with something like this. But summaries aren't enough in an essay. It's a bit boring if you simply repeat what you've written. Your reader is left asking, so what? Why does this matter? On the other hand, a conclusion comes from the Latin word meaning to close or shut. We conclude or close our argument by bringing together all the pieces from our essay and providing a final thought. This final thought frames your essay and makes it whole. So a conclusion should include a summary of the main arguments, but it also requires something more. But what? That brings us to our second tip. Show the reader the importance of your argument. In the conclusion, we move from specific details in the summary to a final thought that considers the bigger picture. This final thought is answering the question, why does what I've said in this essay matter? There are a couple of simple ways to do this. You can look to the future, look at what your argument means for the subject more generally, look at what should be done next, or consider what your argument says about the human condition or the world around us. Just try not to be too grandiose. Let's use the lottery's essay example to see how that might look in practice. First, we take our summary from earlier. Next, we add some thoughts about the bigger picture. In this example, I've written a few sentences about other ways to make education policy more fair and equitable. Or maybe we could suggest that lotteries could be useful in making many other important decisions. If we're writing a long essay, we might even do both. Together, these thoughts answer the so what question. They show that the essay has significance beyond simply answering the question. When we add it to our summary, we have a conclusion. Finally, remember to check for consistency. Ideally, your controlling argument from your thesis statement will flow from your introduction into your body paragraphs and then onto your conclusion. But in the course of writing an essay, it's easy to veer away from your original argument. To avoid any inconsistency, go back to your introduction and body paragraphs to ensure that you've delivered the essay you promised. A good way to do this is to read your conclusion and ask yourself the following questions. First, does it contain a version of your thesis statement? And is it clear that this is the same argument from the introduction? Second, does it touch on the main supporting arguments you covered in the rest of the essay? Third, is there anything important that doesn't appear in the conclusion? If so, why? Fourth, does the conclusion include things that didn't feature in the rest of the essay? If so, why? And finally, is your big picture discussion an obvious extension of what you discussed in the rest of the essay? Or does it kind of come out of nowhere? If you can answer these questions confidently, then your conclusion should be consistent with the rest of your essay. Let's quickly recap. When you're writing your conclusion, don't just summarize, show why your argument matters, and check for consistency. Following these tips will help you write an interesting, logical conclusion that completes your argument and leaves your marker with just enough food for thought. That's it from me today. Check out our website for more information about essay writing and a whole range of other academic skills.